I tell you, I love virtual work. And for somebody who has a company that gets people outside and brings teams together, you might be thinking, like, aren't you promoting the wrong thing? No, actually it makes a lot of sense, and I'll tell you why. Yes, it's good to bring people physically together in teams, and that's what I do with my Battlefield Leadership Series. Get people together, break bread together, and learn some valuable leadership lessons. I do that. But I don't think that has to be every day, and nor do I think should we be bringing people into the office every day. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. The time I waste commuting is wasted time. That's time I'm not working, time I'm not spending with family, time I'm not doing anything productive. And people might say, oh, but you're listening to a podcast. Yeah. Who here thinks I'm listening to a podcast? I might have a podcast on. I might have the radio on. I'm not paying attention because I'm agitating, swearing at traffic, being pissed off at the world because I have to sit in traffic for absolutely no real reason other than some antiquated thinking. Where did you in the office? Here's another thing what I like about it. I'm somebody, as you can probably tell from this video, I like to walk around. I don't sit still very well. And in the traditional, let's go to the conference room and sit in a meeting, what's going through my mind is sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move, because I've had all these things in the traditional business structure of saying, you have that professional look, executive presence, and all that other garbage. And so I sit there and say, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move. And I'm ignoring everything in there. It's all I'm focusing on is sitting still and not moving. I'm giving absolutely nothing of value. I'm not listening to the meeting. And most meetings are kind of worthless anyway. I mean, whoever walked away from a meeting going, wow, that was game changing. Yeah, no one. So I need to move around. And for me to process things, I'm moving around. And so this virtual work environment is fantastic. I can be on conference calls. I can walk around, I can pace around. Sometimes I turn my camera off because I don't want to distract people with my walking around. But I'm able to pay attention. I'm not sitting there going, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move. So I'm actually engaging. I'm actively listening. And the thing is with a lot of people, especially with the traditional office environment, we have this certain conformity we expect, like certain behavior. And one thing I met a guy who was a senior C-suite executive, if you will, in this government organization, and he was my idol. Because he'd be at meetings drawing pictures and stuff, but you could tell he was actively listening. He goes, look, this is what I need to do to pay attention. I've got my little ADD issues here, and so by drawing pictures, I'm able to focus. Otherwise, it's like sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move. And I used to do that too. Then someone said, oh, Tom, that's unprofessional. You're drawing pictures. I'm like, yeah, but it's like, do you want me to pay attention? Or do you want me to look like I'm paying attention? Because those are two different answers, two different questions, two different courses of action. I can look like I'm paying attention, and I'm not paying attention. And when I'm paying attention, I don't necessarily look like I'm paying attention. My wife and I, when we were dating, there was one thing, like my wife, there was something I said or did, and she felt slighted by it, or she was upset by it. And she wanted me to sit down next to her and have this conversation. She kept getting frustrated because I want to get up. I said, okay, honey, I need to be upfront with you here. If you want me to sit down and pay attention, I'm not going to be paying attention. I'm going to sit down and give you the appearance that I'm paying attention, but I'm not paying attention. I don't work that way. If you want me to actively listen and process, I need to move around a bit. And she saw the magic because she said, okay, let's give this a try. And as she's explaining to me, I was processing and absorbing it. She could tell I was processing and absorbing it. And where I help people in my life, I've learned to explain this. Hey, this is how I process information. This is how I do things. This is what works for me. And when you tell people that, there's suddenly more understanding. If I just go in there and just start doing it, like, what's this guy's deal? And then you say, hey, folks, listen, this is how I process things. I need to move around to be able to process, think, understand, and respond. And when you tell people that, they understand that. And it's harder for workers. Like I read stories of CEOs who do this. CEOs who will walk around when they like to pace around when they're getting information. Generals I've worked for have done the same thing. They pace around. But it's harder being that junior person. You think you can't do that. But I hope we get to more acceptance. And certainly I think that the virtual world helps people who have certain quirks like I do. And I need to move around. I need to process things. I pay attention better when I move around. You put me in the traditional conference room, I can't pace. I have to sit there and look like I'm paying attention. Sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move, sit still, don't move. That's what's going through my mind. And anything you're saying is whew, over my head, or I'm processing very little of it. When I walk around, and ask anybody I've ever worked with, when I walk around and pace around, I'm engaged, I'm responsive, and I'm contributing in a positive manner to the conversation. I'm gonna close with a thought. Because of the way I've done things, I had this high school kid who came to one of my Invention Leadership programs, and I was told by the parents, look, he's autistic and has some severe ADD issues. And it says, okay, well, they said they had to pull him out of Boy Scouts. And, let's just see how he does. And, I let him be him. And what was interesting is I wish I had recorded this, video and audio. And what I would have done is when we went to Gettysburg, I would have recorded the audio. What do you think of this kid? And people would have said, oh, this person's engaged, they're paying attention, actively listening, responding, yada, yada, yada. Then when I showed the video, and in the video, he was standing on these rocks, bouncing in between, almost like, well, I can't quite show it here, but he's bouncing in between on the rocks and spinning around and that type of thing. Because that's what he had to do to process information, and he was actively engaged. And the kids just somehow knew that's what he needed. The only person who had any issue with it was one of my adult instructors, who I had to say, hey, I know it's driving you nuts. It's not driving the kids nuts, it's driving you nuts. And what happens in these cases, and this is what kind of leads to problems with bullying and that type of thing, is we say, oh, this kid's a problem. And parents say it's because, oh, he just doesn't sit still, he doesn't do this type of thing. And then kids start hearing, this is a problem, this is a problem. And then that subliminal messaging, it contributes a bit to bullying or isolating somebody because they keep being associated as being problematic. Oh, the parents think this kid's a problem. Teachers think this kid's a problem. And they all give is that this person is a problem. And then they look at this person as a problem. But when I didn't say anything and just let him be him and enforce an atmosphere of acceptance, guess what? He made friends. Like I heard from the parents, he had difficulty making friends. He made some good friends at my leadership camp because I didn't single him out. I gave him the same opportunities as everybody else. And yeah, if he needed to bounce around and do some things that were a little different from everybody else, but I let him do that, and he thrived. And that's what it's all about right there. And too often in the modern workspace or in our schools, we make people try to conform to a certain behavior that models what we think works. Oh, well, you just sit still, pay attention, sit in your desk, and actively listen. That does not work for me. It doesn't work for a lot of people. So we have to sort of change some cultural norms. And that is one of the big things I love about this virtual work environment. I can thrive in this, or I can pace around. I mean, here's what I'm doing in this video. I can think. If I would not be able to do this video and think the way I'm thinking, if I had to sit there, and I didn't do as a script for this either, I would not be coming off the way I'm coming off if I had to sit still. Can't do it. Very hard. So, I don't know, it's just me looking at myself, looking at thoughts here. And I think this virtual work really helps a lot of people. And we got to be creative and process. And again, I do love bringing people together, but I also let's embrace what we perceive as quirkiness or awkwardness and let people be their best selves in the environment that makes them their best person. I have no issue bringing people in the office. And like I said, I have a company that brings people together in teams. It doesn't have to be always that way. We can have a little bit of both. And do not make somebody drive into work for a 5-minute meeting, a 30-minute meeting. In fact, unless they're gonna spend substantive time, like you wanna do a all-day brainstorming session, just have them go on to Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, whatever your meeting format of choice is. Don't make someone come in. Man, there's a guy, Josh Fluke, on YouTube. He talked about a guy that's made him come in for a 5-minute meeting. Absolutely ridiculous. Look, people work from home. Their output will reflect it. Their morale is going to be higher. Let people have that flexibility. People can shine. And if people want to go to the office, hey, let them shine. But make sure you as a leader are really balancing that and looking at work output, so you're not biasing people who show up, who maybe just walking around the clipboard. No one has a clipboard anymore, but the Army used to call that the guy who, the spotlight ranger who'd walk around the clipboard, make it look like doing mission work, but they're really not doing a thing. So make sure you're seeing past that. Don't just look at the perception of work, look at real output of work. And realizing some people, output is staying at home. Some people need the office environment. I know people who will go nuts at home with their family there, kids there, that kind of thing, and they can't work there. That's fine. Embrace both. It's not one way or the other. In fact, if I was running a company, which actually I am, and I build my company, I'm going to tell people, hey, look, if I ever got an office, I'd say, look, guys, here's our office building. Show up. Don't show up. It's up to you. And by the way, when you go to a dispersed workforce, you're attracting better talent. And that's what's going to do. The people who are the most skilled are going to explore the most options. It's kind of like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, he could just say, yeah, you know what? I'm not showing up. You disrespected me. Because he has that kind of leverage because of how great he is. Extremely talented people who can help your organization. I'm going to say, yeah, no, I don't want to move to Washington, D.C. and live in an expensive area and deal with all the traffic. Or I don't want to live in Manhattan. You know what? Yeah, I'd rather just live in Dubuque, Iowa, because, well, there's nothing I can't do for your organization that I can't do from anywhere in the world. And there are certain jobs that if you're working in security and you actually have to watch the door, you actually have to be there, right? But most jobs today, white collar work, you don't need to be physically present. So there you go. I am a fan of the virtual work. I'll stop moving around for a brief moment. But yeah, and I said brief moment, I'm back to moving around again. We all have different things that we need to embrace. People have different things, and know how your people tick. That's the real art of a leader. And I'll finish with this story because it reinforces how different people are, how people process information differently, how they behave differently, and how I have to lead them differently. I commanded the Q-37 radar detachment when I was at Fort Campbell. I had 2 NCOs when I first took command, and one of them would leave 6 months later. He'd got promoted and would move on somewhere else. But 2 of these guys, I had to lead them 2 different ways. One guy, if all I had to say to him if he messed up, I was like, hey man, you kind of let me down, kind of expected a little bit better. And that's like daggers going through his heart. I didn't need to tell him what to fix. He's gonna fix it, and he's gonna come in there and he's gonna rock it. The other guy, if I didn't drop a few F-bombs and swear at him and all that kind of thing, he didn't understand he messed up. So I never talked to him at the same time. Both got fantastic results. I just had to talk to them different ways. And that's the same thing. When you look at your employees, they thrive in different atmospheres. Some people need that office structure. And if you've got office space, that's fantastic. Let them come to the office and do their work and shine there. And then some people, they shine in the virtual world. I'm one of them. Let them do that and do that thing. And again, occasionally bring people in. I like going to the office once in a while for things, and then sometimes it's good. I love going to brainstorming sessions in person. When we're on the whiteboard, you can do it virtually. I like, again, my personal preference. But if someone else prefers to do it virtually and they can demonstrate that they thrive in the virtual world, let them. And people like me, I'm going to go in person. So try to individualize how you do things to get the best out of people. That's what I'm trying to say here. So that's it. That's today's edition of Life, the Universe, and Whatnot. What are your thoughts? Should people go back to the office? Not? Mix it up? Should we make everyone do the same thing? I argue that we should not make people do the same thing. If you have an office, hey, come on in. Like if I had an office building, I can't belabor this enough. I'd be saying, look folks, I have an office. Let me know if you're coming in just so I can order lunch for you. That's all I want to know, logistics. I don't care, get your work done. That's me. I encourage you to think more dynamic like that. Don't just make this is how it's going to be because it works for you. Because what works for you may not work for somebody else. Thank you. I've gone on enough. And I really want to hear your thoughts. This is what helps move things forward in society is dialogue. Take care.